Something hunts these mountains, shaped from myth. Formed by the spirit of the mountain man, he lives by the way he hunts. Born of the mountains, blood of the Indian, he survives by hawk and longbow. He's alone, he's free, he's forged by the elements. Journey with the last of a breed, Sasquatch Mountain Man. High up in these shining mountains, Laramy Sasquatch Miller has a mission. He faces the altitude and the weather because meat is needed before winter, and the elk have proven wary. But he presses on, knowing that his arrow is meant to find its target. Among the skills Laramy's drawn from the wilderness is the art of bow making. With a stave of Osage orange and a few hand tools, he's fashioning a weapon that'll serve him well.
What I got here is I've got some hide glue. I've got a pot double boiling down here, and what that is you put a smaller pot inside a bigger pot so that you don't get too high a temperature to wind up burning or messing up this hide glue. Then once that hide glue gets to the consistency of about honey, then it's ready to use. I'm gonna take it off, let it cool just a little bit so that it's just lukewarm when you're putting it on, because you don't want it to cook your sinew.
Laramy is proving that all parts of an animal are of use as he takes the tendons and ligaments to make sinew for backing his bow.
This is the last step. For now, I'm gonna set it aside and let this bow sit and cure for 2 to 3 weeks. So let this sinew dry really good so that I'm not trying to string it and it's breaking that bond that's being made between the wood and the sinew.
Work for Sasquatch is hardly over, though. There are elk still to tend to.
That moon's up, that means the elk are out feeding. A lot of people don't realize, but you need to plan strictly around the moon. When it's up, the elk are up, moving around and active. When it's down, they're sleeping. It don't matter if it's day, night, morning, they move strictly with that moon. So it looks like we need to get hunting.
Fresh from last night. Look. That's fresh from last night. It's a good sign.
Sasquatch loves the smell of elk droppings in the morning.
A lot of elk sign coming up and down this creek. We've already come up about 800 feet. I'm trying to stay along this creek so it'll muffle my sound because it's really loud in there. It sounds like you're walking on a bunch of potato chips. There's elk in here, we just gotta find one.
Other moccasin feet have made silent steps on these trails, not wanting to waken harsh fate. For the mountain man, winter could be the starvation time. The frozen weather could make him so wolfish, he'd eat the inner bark of pines and fir trees, the way the Indians taught him. But those same Indians saw torture as an honorable thing to do to enemies. and more than one mountain man was buried to his chin in the sun, his eyelids sliced off, or his own cut-off part stuffed into his mouth and his lips sewn shut. And the bear was always waiting to lift him into the air with its jaws, claw down to the white of ribs, break bones the mountain man had to set himself, or let the flies blow his rotting flesh so maggots could clean it. Then he'd be left to crawl out of the wilderness.
There's definitely a bull bed. You can tell because that piss is real musky. It's cool, so he hasn't been here for a while. It was probably made last night or early this morning. I'm gonna get some of that dirt and rub it on myself as a cover scent.
As we said, Sasquatch loves the smell of, well, you get the idea. It's a cow call, and it's done the job. High up in the backcountry, Laramy Miller's hunt for elk continues. He's in a spot thick with elk, but that makes the bulls no less wary. The alertness of an elk can't be overestimated, and it takes no more than a breath of wind to carry Laramy's scent.
You know, these critters are pretty amazing how smart they are. For instance, I've walked down trails and run into bears sitting downwind of a trail so they can smell what's coming down. Elk and coyotes and everything else, they do the same thing. You try to call them in, they always circle downwind. They'll get that wind in their favor and then come up to you. That way they can smell you way before you ever really see them. You have to account for that every time you set up.
Back at his cabin, Sasquatch continues the process of bow making, but now it's the arrows.
What I got here is some willow shafts, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make some arrows out of these. The first thing you wanna do is you wanna peel all the bark off of them and cut them to approximately what length you're gonna need. So I'm gonna cut these at 32 inches. Then I'm gonna tie them together and set them in a corner of a room or outside, wherever, and let them dry. Let them dry for at least 2-3 weeks. Once these arrows are dry, I'll take them over to the fire. I'll have some crooked spots in them, heat them up, bend them back, and then I'll get some sandstone and sand them down real good. I got a turkey wing feather here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split it down the center, and then I'll cut it in half, and that's gonna be 2 of my fletchings on an arrow. What I did here is I dipped this feather in some hide glue, and then I'm trying to fletch it. Well, I do believe my fletching could use a little work. It's definitely one of the tougher things I've done, and I give kudos to the Indians, because when they did it, it was a work of art. When Sasquatch did it, it was a work, but I don't know how much art was involved. Could use a little work.
Now, the work is climbing back to the high country on the quest for elk.
Right there goes to show you how high up in elevation we are. You got some bighorn rams up there on the ridge line. The thing you got to worry about when you get up in elevation like this is altitude sickness. Only cure for your altitude sickness is de-elevation. You better get your butt down that mountain. And when you're packed way back up in here like me, getting your butt down that mountain ain't as easy as it sounds. What happens is you get pulmonary edema, your lungs fill up with water, you're done for. You ain't getting out, you'll pass out and they might find you a couple weeks or a couple years later. It's nothing to mess with. Make sure you drink a lot of water and always watch out for altitude sickness.
At least Laramy has meat. For now.
There's a ton of elk sign right here. Saw a bull up at the top of this morning. I'm hoping that they went and bedded over here and they're gonna circle around and come right back out here and feed. If they do that, we're in good shape. If they come out up there, it's gonna be a waiting game.
It's the sound of a cow calling that always gets a bull's attention. And one bull answers. Followed by the bugle of a second. With two bulls in two different places answering his calls, Laramy has to decide which one offers him the better chance. Laramy Miller's hunt goes on, with the elk ever wary to every scent and sound. There is frustration in it, but the odds still seem good for Laramy. Now he has two bulls bugling from two different directions and has to choose which to go after.
Look right here, you can see a bull started to make a wallow. He was raking it with his horns and pawing it with his hooves. He didn't quite get to finish. Somebody must have interrupted him. I wish it was me.
You can tell two bulls have been fighting. They got this whole area just tore up. We're right in their bedroom now.
Up here, even Laramy has to be aware of altitude sickness. The Green Mountains may promise springs and creeks, but not all the mountain man's days were passed up yonder. In those days, the parched country from west of the Missouri to the slopes of the Rocky Mountains was called the Great American Desert, and a mountain man who could live weeks without a bite of jerky or a crumb of hardtack could die of thirst in days with a swallow of water. So he sucked on pebbles and chewed on the pulp of cactus, or drank the liquid from the paunches of the buffalo. And when the worst loomed, sentiment had to be put aside, and the best that could be done for a man's best friend was to strike hard and clean and swift, and then whisper a quiet prayer over the whitening bones of a boon companion.
I can really smell the elk in here. There's beds all over the place and a bunch of rubs. I'm gonna sneak down here and set up and call and see if I can't call a bull in. This canyon is freaking lighting up. When it happens like that. That big bull's got some cows. He's not wanting to join our party, so I guess I'll go crash his. I'm gonna have to move down there closer.
On the mountaintops, Laramy Miller's hunt for elk goes on. The steep slopes are rich with sign, and it seems inevitable that an elk will appear for Laramy to draw down on with his longbow.
Hit him good. That's a dead elk walking, buddy. Well, as you can see, we didn't quite get the shot on film, but Sasquatch is hungry. He needed to get some meat on the ground. You can see right here where he spun out, took off running down the mountain. You can see blood on the log. Look at the blood on that tree. Oh, there he is right there. Oh, it's gonna be elk backstraps for dinner tonight. There ain't nothing better than that. You look at this, he must have got hit when he was in velvet. He's all squirrely on this side. That is cool.
Before darkness falls, there's no time to quarter the elk, so Laramy must leave it overnight, hoping its scent won't carry to some other hunter of these mountains that might be waiting for him when he returns. At least if there's a bear or lion on the elk, Laramy will find out at a safe distance, knowing that if your horse doesn't want to go there, neither do you.
Well, all the fun's over, now the work begins. But I tell you what, it sure will taste good.
This is when a man thanks the Lord for having created horse flesh. It's tableside service for Sasquatch, without any tables.
You know, Mother Nature's pretty amazing. You take rocks, for example. Most people look around and they see rocks. Well, I look around and see tools. Everywhere you look, there's tools. You just got to recognize them. And the Sasquatch-made brick oven. Out east, you pay big money for a steak like that.
With his winter's meat taken, there's more that lies ahead for Laramy Miller. More trails to break and game to hunt. But first,
Now I got to figure out how to get the hell out of here.